So about a year ago, I purchased the machine gift set on the Black Friday sale from Spellbinders, and it was a gift I purchased for myself because I wanted the die cutting machine and I wanted the glimmer foil system, but it was such a good deal that I went ahead and bought the whole gift set because the BetterPress, it really wasn't that much more to include it. I really wasn't sure how I would use it or when I would use it, but it's been an entire year and I have not used it or opened it yet. But like I said, I didn't purchase it to actually purchase the gift set for this one. It seemed to be a bonus with the price that it was. So I've decided today that I'm just going to open it with you all and let's check it out, because Spellbinders has sent me some of their new press plates that they released in November. And these are the monthly birth flowers, and it's a calendar set. I will link below to it. But let's just look at what comes in the box with the BetterPress system. So you get the BetterPress system itself. And like I said, I haven't opened it, so I'm just going to open it all with you all. And inside of this plastic here, I can see already that you get some press plates as well. But here is the plastic cover that you use. And I have watched some videos on how to use this because I was curious how to go about using it. And so I know what the parts are, just haven't opened it yet. So here is the press plate that comes with the set. And this is a pretty flower one, and it has a couple of sentiments. It's kind of hard to read here, but we will check those out later. It also comes with a manual, explaining how to use it. So in the video that I watched, she showed that there's shims underneath the magnetic plate, or she had them underneath there, but they're not in the package that way, so maybe they're inside of this plastic wrap here. So this is the plastic shims. They're very flimsy feeling, but don't throw them away. If you get this set, be sure not to throw these little pieces away, because that apparently is the shims that she was talking about in the video. And I am so sorry that I cannot tell you which video I watched because it's been a little while back. I'm just going off of memory. Some of the things I saw in the video, but I can't remember who I watched. I just did a search on YouTube for the BetterPress system. But hopefully my video today will show you how to use this, and hopefully we can figure this out together, and this will be enough instructions for you. So I'm just going to put all of the shims underneath here for now, and if I need to remove some or add something else later, I will. So let's go ahead and get started with the actual press plates that Spellbinders sent me. These are their monthly calendar ones, so it comes with the name of the month as well as the name of the flower, and it comes with the birth flower. And so I got 3 of them, and so this is the August one. And so I'm just going to make a few cards today or play around with it and see what I can do with these. You also get a pack of sample of paper here, and I can see already that there's 2 different colors in here, so I'll have to research on the Spellbinders site and see what the different BetterPress papers there are. I know I've looked before at them, and I think there's 3 different types in this package here, because you can tell it's almost 3 different colors. One of them is a grayish looking color, and then you've got one that's in between that, and then you have a white color, so one in between white and gray, I should say. So you can see here it's 3 different styles, so I'll have to research what they are so we can decide which ones we like. So I'm going to start out just using the white BetterPress paper, and it may tell us in the manual what it is, but we'll see. Also, this little plastic piece here kind of has a magnet in it that's grabbing it onto the plate, which I like, so nothing slides around. Also, when I put the little press piece onto the plate, it sticks there. So I did see that when you want to create your card, you just take your cardstock or I'm not really sure what you call this paper, but you take your BetterPress paper, and this is the tape that came as well. And also, we get an ink pad that comes with the press as well. So really, you could just get started with what is in the box and play around till you make sure that you have it down pat before you order more supplies. So I'm just going to use this tape on the edges of my cardstock, and you can see here it has little black lines to line up your A2 size card, and then you have a A7 size piece as well. So for this one, I'm just going to put the flower right in the center of my paper. And the ink that comes with it is black ink. So I'm going to just unseal that and just tap it onto the plate here. Now, like I said, I've had this in a box for a year, so I don't even know if my ink has dried out. This one seems like it's doing okay. It's not real juicy, but that may be normal with these inks. But you can see that I am getting some coverage here. I'm just tapping it on. I'm not going to slide it because I'm thinking it would leave streaks. So I don't want streaks in it. So I'm just tapping it on lightly. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it either. So maybe I need to use more pressure, but it doesn't. It looks like it's enough ink. So let's take and we're going to run it through our press and see. Now there is one thing I saw in the video. There is some solution that you can get to clean your plates. I'm going to have to research that as well again, but because it doesn't wipe off easily. So now you just turn your plate over where you taped your paper on, and then you just run it through your die cutting machine. Now, I have the Platinum 6, like I said, that came with this one, the Platinum 6 die cutting machine, as well as the press and the Glimmer hot foil system. But I'm assuming that you can put these through your Big Shot and other items, because I think these all are about the same size. And on the website, I'm pretty sure that it says you can use your Big Shot, so you can use other brand machines. Oh, I really love how that looks. That was super simple. So I was afraid that the ink on the plate was going, not on the plate, but on the mat underneath. I was afraid that it was going to get on my flower or on my paper, but it didn't. And so that is really cool how you get that impression. But I'm going to add a little bit more ink to the actual flower itself, to the top of the flower, and see if we can get a little bit darker impression. And since I have it taped on, I think that it's going to be just fine lined up. I can't believe how easy this system is. I will have to be honest with you, the hot foil system or the glimmer foil system is not as easy for me to use. I struggle with that. I love it still, but I'm still learning how to use it to get my foil to look pretty each time. But look at that. Look how gorgeous that is. And that was so easy. I mean, all I had to do was tape my paper on and then run it through the machine. That is so pretty. I really love how that looks. That looks so elegant. And you can, I don't know if you can see on camera, but, or on the screen, but it's got texture. You know, it's pressed into the paper. So I really love that. Now I did order, when I ordered this whole kit, I ordered some more inks to go with it. And I've had those in my drawer for a year now. So we're going to give those a try as well. And there's several more different ink colors on the website. I just ordered one pack. When I order something like this, I try not to order too many items just in case I don't like it or I never use it. I don't want to have a bunch of supplies and just be wasteful. But I think I will be using this press. I really wish I had used it sooner. I hate that it has sat in the box all this time. Here is some Stampin' Up. It's just a stamp cleaner, and I thought maybe it would help the ink to be removed, but it didn't. I'm not going to worry about it though. If this mat gets stained up, it gets stained up, but I am going to research and see if there is a cleaner that I can use on it. But I'm just going to have to understand that if you really use something and you love it, if it gets stained up and as long as it doesn't affect the end product, it's okay that it itself is stained up. So I'm thinking now, what if I am a bit stingy with my paper, since I don't have any of the BetterPress paper other than what came with the machine? What if I'm a bit stingy and I take 2 of the flowers and I add them to one piece and then just cut it in half for my card? So that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to add another one of the monthly flowers here on the plate as well. And so you can see I'm just taking and trying to center them up. You can put that line down the middle of the A2, really helps you to center it up. And then I'm going to open this ink pack and I'm going to try the mulberry and see how it looks on these flowers. So I'm going to try the mulberry on this one here, the newer one, and I can already tell that this ink pad is a lot drier than the black one that I had before. And I really think this is probably my fault because I had these in a drawer where the heat vent is underneath that cabinet. So I'm wondering if it dried them out. I never even thought about that until I got them out. So I'm just going to work with it here and see if I can get some of the ink out. The great news is you can buy re-inkers for these. And so that may be what I need to do, is to order some re-inkers and see if that helps. But what I'm going to do too is once I get through inking this one up, I'm going to lay the stamp pads. I had them laying so that the label was face up. I'm going to turn them upside down and see if I can get some of the ink to run down to the top of the pad. But while we are, while that's sitting like that, I'm just going to go ahead and run this through the machine and see what kind of image we get. So once again, I'm just centering up my paper onto the A2 size lines. Now when I do flip it over, I try not to press it down. I'm trying to keep it up so I don't smear anything. I'm going to add a little bit more ink here to see if I can darken it some since it's been laying over there. But I don't think it's had time to sit and do that. But maybe when it sits, plus maybe it's cold in here. I'm not sure. I feel like it's because I've waited a year to open it. But that's okay. I will look into getting some refills. I also want to order some more colors anyway, because these are more muted, darker colors. I would like to get some brighter pinks and maybe even like see if they have like a turquoise or a light blue. And so I probably will have to put in an order for that. It'll be after Christmas. I'm going to wait to do any orders till after Christmas, but maybe in the new year I can get some more inks for this, because I think I want to use it more, because this is a lot of fun. Anything that when you do it and it comes out is fun. And so here, this one you can tell it's got the impression, but it's still very light, and that's because of the ink. Now the one, you can see the one that had the black on it still has a little bit more black in it, but I don't mind that that purple's that dark like that. So I'm just going to try again and add just a little bit more ink, and I'll just keep working it. And that's the great thing so far, is when you flip it over, the one before when I flipped it over, it lined up perfectly. We'll see if it does it again. Hopefully it continues to, it should, the way everything lines up. I am making sure I have my mat turned right. But as long as you see the words there, it says BetterPress at the bottom, keep that at the bottom, or keep, be sure wherever you put it that you do the same each time. And so when you run it through, it shouldn't mess up. Now I think you're going to really have to use this paper, because it has like a texture to it. It almost feels like watercolor paper, so I want to give watercolor paper a try sometime. But I think that you're going to have to use this type of paper in this press though, so that might be a bit expensive. We'll have to see. Like I said, I really don't know the prices of all the supplies that go with it, because when I first got it, I was really looking into, like I said, the full machine and the die cutting machine for sure. And so I knew that I would use the die cutting machine, and the full machine I planned on using. And so I looked into the prices of the foil, and I looked into the prices, of that, but I did not really investigate this BetterPress much. But it looks like I've gotten more ink on it this time. So let's run it through again and see how it looks. And we may just have to continue to do that until I get some juicier ink pads in. But that's no big deal. So when it's fun, I don't mind repeating the process. Okay, that's looking a lot better. And even though my inks are not doing great, I kind of like the shading. You see here where it's kind of lighter in the center of that flower on the right, and then dark on the edges. I kind of like that. That looks intentional. And you can also, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but it has a lot of texture to it. I love the impression. So I'm just going to keep adding more and more ink until, these ink pads are very small too anyway, so it would be nice to have some refills here so I could add a little bit ink to them as I'm using them. Because I can tell this one is a lot drier than the actual black one that came with it, so I'm not really sure. I wonder if they ever put the inks on sale. I'm going to have to keep an eye out for that and see. I like to, well, I guess like anybody, I like to shop the sales. I'm really liking how that looks though. I think it's a more purple look, and it might, I don't know if that mulberry is supposed to be that purple, but I still love the purple look, so I'm happy with how it turned out. And so those look good. So with this tape, it comes off pretty easy. I'm just going to be really careful to pull it to make sure that I don't tear my paper. And I bet they have refills of this tape as well. A lot of times though, for me, I don't order tape like that. I'll just use cheap, inexpensive washi tape because the washi tape does not stick that well to items. And so I feel like it would be fine as well. So I tried a tearing technique on the paper. I'm not crazy about it. So I'm just cutting that off and just straightening up the edges. And you can see here, this one I tore, and then the other one I've just cut the edges. So that'll be perfect in the center of a A2 size card. So now I'm just going to create a background, and I'm just using basic white cardstock now that I use all the time. And I'm just going to add a little bit of this pink ink from the Distress Oxides. And I love this color. It's super light, so you really have to, if you want it to, you know, really stand out on your page, you have to really add a lot of the ink. But this is a very juicy ink pad, so it's pretty simple to do. Now I'm not trying to get a smooth background. I just want to get some color on here, and then I'm going to mix in some of the Dusty Concord as well. So I have two different inking tools you can see here. One I use for the pink and one I use for the purple. I'm not mixing them up. Now this one is super juicy, so it glides on really good. And I may be covering up all of the pink. I kind of wanted the pink to show, but then I'm trying to decide how I want this, because you can see here, I think that this purple looks really good with these flowers. So I want to be sure that that I'm creating a border that matches our flower, which I can just, some areas I'm a little bit lighter hand with the purple, so the pink does show up, but other areas I'm a little bit darker. I love just using Distress Oxides and just adding ink to create my backgrounds. I am not an expert at this at all. I am still learning, and some people get it so smooth, but I like this look here. It kind of reminds me of a dyed look, you know, when you kind of tie-dye things or you dye things and it's not like a perfect dye. I like that look. So I'm just going to leave it like this. I like how it's lighter and darker in some areas. So I think that's going to make a pretty background for this card. Now for this one, I'm not going to add the name of the flower or the name of the month, since this is going to be a card, and I'm thinking I'm going to keep a sentiment off of this card, because I think this will just be like a note card that could be used for anything, you know, just to send a note to someone. So I like to create cards without sentiments as well, so that I'm not stuck to one certain purpose for the card. In case I need a card, I can go through my card box, and if I like this one for the person, then I can just use it, and I can add a note, and I can even add a sentiment later if I want to. So I'm just going to center this up on my purple background. And these are really simple cards to put together, but I don't know that you have to add much to these cards, because I really love the elegance of the BetterPress. So I love the looks of the impression on this paper. And like I said, I want to give this a try with some watercolor paper just to see how that turns out. Because I'm thinking that this paper kind of feels like watercolor paper, but I'm not sure that it is. It is thicker and has more of a texture to it. So now I'm just going to add this to the center of my white card base, and there we have a simple card put together in just a few minutes. And I know the video's not been a few minutes, but you know, we've already unboxed the press, we took a look at everything, and now we've got a card created. So I'm just going to trim up the edge here. I had a little bit of a wonky looking edge there. So I really like that. And as I press on it, it doesn't smear anything. I love how that turned out. I hope that you can see the texture on it. Okay, so for the next one, I'm just taking a regular little plastic sandwich bag, and I'm just adding inks to my bag, and I'm just pressing them around. I'm adding different distress inks. I'm using some blues and the purple. Just going to mix it around. I know you can't see it on the bag, but it's there. Then I'm just going to add a little bit of water to this. And then we're going to do one of my favorite things I love to do is just smushing paper onto the inks. So I wanted to mix these up a bit. So I just folded my plastic bag and just pressed around. And that gets them mixed up a little so that you're not just seeing the lines that I created by just pressing it down. Now this is another white piece of the BetterPress paper. And so we're going to see how it reacts to water. I'm not sure if it's going to like water or not, but we're going to give this a try. I want to just create a background on this piece first. So I'm just going to keep working with this background until I get it like I like it. So I'm liking how it is looking. It needs quite a bit more added to it. So let's see. What should we do next? I really like days like today where I'm just playing with product and just seeing what I can create instead of having a plan. I had no plan when I got started. I just wanted to play and see how it all evolved and see what we can come up with in the end. Some days like that, I just come up with papers for the trash bin, and other days we come up with some really cute ideas. So it's always fun to just take some time and play, and don't get upset if it doesn't turn out like you thought it should. You could always use those leftovers for collages or something, or if you really hate it, just put it in the scrap bin and go on. It's just paper. Use it for kindling if you have a wood stove. I don't know that if you put all these inks and different materials on it, you may not want to put it in your wood stove. It may have too many chemicals. I have no idea. But I just put mine in the trash bin and start over and not stress it. So I'm liking this though, but I want it to be, I don't want so much white background. I don't want it to be so solid. And it seems like this paper is, I don't know that it's really liking all of the water. So I'm just going to take and rub some of my inks straight from the ink pad onto the page and see what happens. So I'm just mixing the blues, and then I'm going to come back in with the purple and see what we can come up with. And I know it just kind of looks like a muddy mess right now, but I'm really liking the different look that it has. It's kind of a texture, it's kind of got like a textured look to it. I like it. I'm liking how it's looking, especially if I use that mulberry on a flower, that would look good. And then I'm just going to bring in my heat tool and dry it just a little bit. And you want to dry these inks because I feel like, I don't know if this is correct, but for me, it seems like if you use your dryer on them, they set them, because if you don't, then you can still get a lot of it rubs off on you. Okay, it seems to be dry. I just need to straighten it up a little bit. Anytime you get something wet and then use the heat tool, it starts to warp a little, so I'm just trying to flatten it back out. I do like how it's looking. So here is Cosmic Sky. I'm thinking that would look really good with this background. So I'm going to just pull out another one of the press plates that Spellbinders sent me, and I'm going to give this a try. So I received 3 from them. So this last one is from the month of, let me see here, September. So I'm going to try this one and see how it looks. I haven't tried it before. I'm just going to use the flower once again. I'm not going to use the actual wording that comes with the flowers, but there is some really cool calendar ideas on Spellbinders for these, where you can create some little calendars, desk calendars, and you can use these flowers with your desk calendars. And I think they even have a kit with the desk calendar paper. So you just add the flowers to it. And I like how big this flower is. I think I'm just going to put it on the whole background instead of like last time, you know, splitting it up. So I'm just going to press. This one may be dry like the other one. We're going to give it a try and see. It already seems to be coming out better. Which I did have it sitting over to the side with the ink facing down to see if it would kind of run to the top of the pad. I don't know if that makes a difference or not. And I am adding a little bit more pressure this time just to see if I can get more ink out, because these flowers are going to have to be fairly dark to show up on that background. And I have so many experiments I want to try with this. And I know there's other videos out there where others have tried different inks and different papers. I'm going to have to look at those videos as well, but I just really want to experiment with what I have in my craft room, with the brands I already have, and see what works and see what doesn't, so that I don't have to purchase more supplies. You know, it's nice to get some supplies, but it's also nice to use up what you have as well. So I have a lot in my craft room I need to use up before I keep adding more, because I'm running out of space. So once again, I'm just going to center this up on the plastic and add a little bit of tape. And I'm really hoping this tape does not pull the color off when I go to pull it off. I am reusing the tape from before, so hopefully it's not as sticky as it was before. So I'm just going to add a little bit more ink to this just in case it dried while I was doing that. Just add a little bit more so that I want it to be super dark when I press it. But like we can do before, we can just run it through several times to get it darker if we need to. So my paper's a little warped here, so I think I need to tape it down just a little bit more. That way we're sure that it doesn't move, and that when we run it through the machine, in case we want to come back and run it through a second time, everything is lined up perfectly. So I'm just going to re-tape it down. I'm trying to make sure it's lined up perfectly at the top there, because I want this flower to be down at the bottom, you know, kind of centered in my card. But if my card is not centered onto this plate or onto this plastic, then the flower itself is not going to be centered. So I want to make sure I get my card perfectly on there, and then I'm just going to flip it over. I'm going to run it through my machine. And when you run it through, I thought it was going to feel like really tight because it's pressing that impression in, but it actually is not that tight when you run it through. And I am running it through slowly. I'm thinking if I run it through slowly, maybe it has time to grab more of that ink. And so I'm running it back and forth this time just to see if I can get more of that ink onto my paper. I'm not sure if that is a technique you're supposed to use or not. Maybe I should have read the manual a little bit more. But, oh, I like that. I like how that is looking on this card. And you can see that it is pressed down into the card. So I'm just going to add a little bit more ink. It does seem like all the ink came off of the plate. So, and I do want to give a tip. Be sure that when you're inking it, that you're not pressing too hard. You don't want to slide this flower around, because if this flower moves, then it's not going to line up when you run it back through your machine. So that's a thing to think about too. So now I'm just going to run it back through again with a little bit more ink. And I am going to try to not go so fast. I tend to run this thing through so fast. I'm going to go back and forth and just see if I can go slow. And because I know when you're stamping, you need to hold your stamp down on the paper so that it absorbs the ink. So I'm thinking with this, maybe I shouldn't go so fast. Maybe I should take my time so that it really grasps onto all of that ink. So we'll see. Okay, I like that. I think that's looking really good. So I think that was a good idea to add it to this background. So now I just got to make sure that this tape does not take the ink off of my paper. So I'm just going to pull it off very gently on each corner too. But you really need to tape it down so that it does stay in place in case you want to run it through twice like I did. But at the same time, you got to be so careful with your paper. So now I'm just going to trim this down just a little. This paper that came with it, I think, is more of an A2 size. So I'm just going to trim it down to fit the front of my A2 card, because I want it to be framed out with the white card base a little bit. So I'm just cutting it 4 by 5 1/4. That's what I always do with my card front, so that when with my card background piece, so that when I add it to my card front, it is framed out a little bit by that card base. But I think I'm going to just add a little bit of ink around the edges, and so I'm just using a navy ink for this. and just going to frame it out with that navy ink. I think that that finishes it off. I felt like it was just missing a little something and it needed just a little bit of a frame on it. So this kind of finishes it off. So once again, we have a very simple card to put together. So I'm just going to add this one to my card base as well. And this is just going to be another note card that I have in my stash when I want to send somebody. I could use it as a thank you note. I could use it as a get well note. I could just send it as a note of thinking about somebody. And sometimes when I sell my journals or, you know, send happy mail, these cards are perfect to add into the happy mail or add in with the journals as a thank you note. So, or a thinking about you note, depending on what I'm sending. So that is another card completed. Now you could add a sentiment down at the bottom or at the top, but for this one, once again, I'm going to leave it blank so that way I can add a sentiment later on if I decide to. So now let's see what these sayings are. I think they're both the same. I'm not really sure. It just looks like it might be two different fonts with the same saying. It looks like it says to my favorite person, and let's see what this one says. I think it's the exact same one. I'm not even sure if it's a different font. Let's just try this one and see. And then I'm just going to come back with that first flower. I didn't like how I tore the paper, so I'm going to create a card using this one as well. And I think this one was, I can't remember what month this one was. Maybe August. So I'm going to just add the sentiment on here as well. So I'm trying to decide. So you got to think backwards on this one. So you think about it. If you're going to press your paper down when you flip it over, this flower is now, when it's facing us, going to be on the left hand side, and the sentiment will be on the right hand side after we finish pressing. So you really have to think about that when you are designing a card. If this is going to be your card front and you're designing it all on the plate here, you really have to think about it's going to be reversed or flipped up. Maybe not reversed, but flipped. So I had to give that a thought for a minute where I wanted to put my flower. And so I'm just going to come in again with the mulberry. And then I'm just going to do the same color on my sentiment as well. I am having a little trouble getting, it seems like it's hard to get the color on the sentiment, but those lines are so thin, I can't really tell if it is showing up on those or not. But we will see. So I just want a good coating of the color onto my flower. And I'm kind of doing extra because this one is so dry. I don't think you would have to do this much if you have a juicier pad. And I do want to make sure my sentiment is lined up. So I'm just going to use the lines on this mat here to help me line up my sentiment. So I'm just going to bring in another piece of the BetterPress paper, and I'm going to give this a try. So I'm just going to line it up. I've never tried it with the flower and the sentiment. As you know, this is my first time playing with this, so I just want to give it a few tries and just play today. So I think that'll be enough tape to hold that piece down. And then I'm just going to flip it over and run it through the machine. I really love how that looks. That looks so elegant. So I'm going to create another background first, and this is just my basic cardstock. Actually, this is my card base. So I'm just going to take and run my ink pad across the card base, and I'm just going to go both directions. I'm going from left to right and then right to left just to get a good coating on all of the edges. And I probably didn't have to go all the way across since I'm going to cover the part in the center up. I could just done the edges, but I don't think I would have ever got those lines straight if I hadn't have. So just want to clean this ink up so I don't get it on everything. And then I'm just going to trim this card down so that you can see that background. This Concord color looks really good with the mulberry color. I don't know if it's because my mulberry is dry though, so don't hold me to it that are two colors that go together. Once I get my re-inker for it, I may see a totally different color. I have really had a lot of fun today playing with these press plates and playing with the BetterPress. I plan on doing more videos with the BetterPress. Let me know below if you have a BetterPress or if you have a system like this. I don't know if other companies have this system or not, but let me know below if you have something like this in your stash. I really should have been playing with this a lot sooner. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed today's video and seeing how I created these cards. And so let me just pull them all back in real quick so you can have a quick look at everything we've created today. And thank you so much for hanging out with me and just watching my channel. And here, I forgot to show you this. I created this, and I haven't showed the video yet, but this is another die that you can buy that goes with this calendar pieces. And it makes an easel to set your cards on or to set your calendar on. Well, here are the 3 cards I created. I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I hope that you will come back and join me later on this week for more videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. And bye.